Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming to tonight's performance of Patria. This play is the result of the effort put forth by our entire class, No Business Like Show Business. Over the course of the semester, we have been working in 4 teams: public relations, set design, directing, and dramaturgy. Through collaboration with the guidance of Professor Stone and Val, we've been able to research, cast, organize, and produce everything.
That's a bad clap.
We hope you enjoy the result of our hard work.
Alright, so it's all the directors here. I'm Ray, we got Dylan here, we got Chris, Brian, and Alexa. We're going to do some commentating over the film Patria.
Without his participation,
Great intro, Ray.
We
are the directors.
We also would like to thank Professor Bernier for all his support.
Thank you for that intro, Ray. Right here, Chris is talking about the introduction to the play. We would like to thank everybody that participated in this production.
Also to Ray Farner, our College of Fenway liaison.
Towards scene 1, we opened up with a lot of interesting images as the set that were related to the time, as far as what was going on while they were inside the internment camps, such as the bombing of Pearl Harbor and the shuffling and the massive amounts of people being moved into the internment camps. And it really helps set the tone for where the play is headed.
We decided for the opening scene to have Ben behind scenes with casting a shadow over the background to make a speech about what's going on and give you more of a feel, like think about it more, not seeing him talking.
I remember December 7th, 1941 so well. We were all in shock, all Americans. On the radio they talked about waves.
I think the window in this scene
dropping,
is
dying,
not really necessary.
people running.
I think it was good for the room, but I don't think it's good for the silhouette.
Would have been inconvenient to have to locate it though, so it's probably better that we left it there.
With the stage sizes decreased, I think the window actually made the stage even smaller. And during the scene, I heard from friends who watched the show, or watched the play, that they said the window was a little... There's already a window in the projected picture, that the window was not needed again. So that was something maybe we could...
That's a good point, because if you're sitting, depending on where you're sitting, you have a different perspective of what the window's doing. Because from here, I mean, with camera view 2, looks like we have 2 windows, almost.
Mm-hmm.
With the stage decrease again, we can see that they're very huddled, and Michi is blocking Mary, so it's kind of hard to see with the blocking, and
They just look very cluttered.
tight, yeah, and cluttered.
That was good, though. That was really what we wanted to do anyway. So, it was definitely a curveball that the stage that we had to use was a little bit smaller than we had planned, but I think it came together well, considering it really helped portray what the internment camps were like, how they were really clustered into small rooms like that.
But then again, I think it's kind of better that we had the smaller stage, because due to the lighting that we didn't really have that many lights, and with this stage there are already blind spots on it. So if we did have a bigger stage, I think there would be a lot more dark spots on stage.
I just want to point out that he totally did not need a script. He looked at it like 4 times maybe, and he was just checking it. He wasn't like reading ahead. Totally could have done it memorized if we made him.
I think the downside from this angle of the camera is and maybe the other side as well, side seats, is you can see the actors' mics. That could be hidden maybe a little more.
Yeah, you're right. It's pretty obvious that they're using microphones, but not that it takes a lot away from it at all.
I should be with my parents now.
Yeah, if anything, the scripts take away more.
You're my wife.
than
You need
mics.
each other now. Your parents have your sisters to care for them there.
Scripts are only noticeable if you look right at them.
They'll be fine.
One thing I noticed with the scene is that you're focusing a lot on the 3 guys. However, the girls almost act like they're waiting for something to happen. They should have had like a side conversation, a silent kind of side conversation. Acted like they were just watching
Just sitting there
themselves.
watching.
They should have more interaction with each other.
Yeah.
Right.
More realistic that way.
Do some knitting or something.
What have we done? What we did was work hard,
I think Ben
obey
had a
the
lot of
laws,
emotion in
study
this
hard
scene.
in school, and try to be the best American.
He was
you can
talking
be.
directly to
And
the
for
people,
that,
while
deserve
Masuo was talking
this.
more to the audience. Something I just noticed.
Yeah, you're right. Masuo did have his body turned to the audience more than either Fred or Ben did through the entirety of this scene, really.
I think though Fred and Ben connected with each other very well in the scene, with emotion-wise, since they didn't really have an opportunity to practice together throughout our rehearsals.
That's true, too. The rehearsals were kind of scattered as far as the actors being able to show up and not being able to show up to the days that we had rehearsals.
And having actors bail out on us, so having people in our class have to step in for that.
Well, with this scene, it was, these 5 actors were
That's bullshit, Ben.
the actual
How
actors.
can
It
you
was
be so
more
naive? They use that
the
propaganda
military
to scare
people and
so they can
the
put it-
smaller roles that we had to fill in last minute.
Some of these say keep talking about
Brad
how
got his
great
scripts,
Nippon
like,
was and how wonderful it was there.
3 days
How they
before
wish they'd
this.
never left.
But I think this scene for blocking wise was the best. This was the one we worked on that full day and Saturday,
Only
and
makes
it
sense.
was.
We might
it
be
shows
of
here.
Japanese ancestry, but the president has to think of the country as a whole.
But
I like how everybody's is positioned differently, so certain people are facing parts of the crowd, not
Ben,
like some people can't see. Or
see,
see.
right here is when it looks like the girls are just watching, and even Masuo is
for
watching.
Italian Americans,
Like it's almost.
Right, it doesn't look like he's participating. He's just kind of spectating.
because we look at it, Ben.
I truly don't know
Look
what
at
he would
their
do
father, own
to
father.
make it better, but I
They
still
even had
think
to put their house in my name.
something.
I think he just make it.
The German
I feel like
American
when people are having conversations in real life, you don't look that
Right. I know there's
awkward
something.
and out of the conversation. I feel like
Well, I think a lot of it, too, is because he's holding that script in his hands. You see Ben's talking a lot with his hands.
Yeah, that's true.
And, he's kind of just holding the script right there. And I feel like that takes away from a lot of it,
Ben can make the effort to make sure that he turns to every aspect of the crowd, every angle.
America
Right.
is still the best place. You see, the people will realize that we're not spies or traitors, and Mary will be back at USC picking up your degrees before you know it. Hey, Mary might even become a doctor. Just give it some time. The president will
This was a
realize
hard
this is-
scene, especially from the side seats in the camera, because Fred is a very tall kid, so he does block a lot of the
It's war. It's
conversation that's going on in the back.
Just give it some time.
I like how Ben, even though he's not talking, is still drawing attention to himself by not just really standing there, just by kind of looking out the window, kind of pretending to wipe fog away, and still remaining very active.
Seems like that type of kid. I see him around campus, always got a little pep in his step.
Yeah, I still think Mary's actions on the bed should have been a little more involved. You wouldn't be that
Well,
proper sitting on a bed. I feel like you'd be tired.
Right? I
and
mean,
exhausted.
maybe she's just in shock about the whole situation still.
this was one of my favorite scenes because in the scene Ben was defending America on how he believes in his country, and they were arguing about whether he should still believe in it or he should believe in his whole country.
Don't worry about that. The good old US of A is going to smash it.
Do you believe in America,
Why are
Brian?
you defending America?
Yeah, if I was in Ben's spot, I'd feel the same way. He was born here and raised. He doesn't know any different. He was never
I almost would
never
fought
lived
if I
anywhere
never-
else. So I could see why he wants to go fight for his country here instead of just sitting back and watching the war.
And this is where a lot of the ethnicity comes in with casting calls. And this is where we saw an original plan with Asian Americans fell through, and Ben being Hispanic and white. What is he? Caucasian, Hispanic. He pulled through though, and made like a real good speech about how it worked.
Even if you're right, what about our parents? We're young and we have our whole lives to make up to this disgrace. But what about them? Starting over just when you're supposed to be enjoying the fruits of your labor? It's an injustice no man should have to endure.
See, they're really spread out in this scene, and you can tell that Masuo's talking right there, and I feel like that, in a way, it kind of took away from the entire emotion of the scene a little bit, but it was the end of the scene anyway, so it wasn't like it had a huge effect.
Another thing is that our background was cut off before all the actors were off the stage. We were a little quick on the trigger
Yeah, we had a gunslinger
on hiding
back
out in the background there.
I think if the background was left up while the lights were out, it could have worked too.
Yeah.
She'll show the glow.
Well, I don't mind the background going out, but I think we should have waited a little more until they got off stage, or at least the lights were off.
I'm glad we had the background go out because me and Brian weren't behind stage for the first scene, and we had to cross over toward the end of the play, and that was when I crossed over the thing. It didn't have to army crawl underneath the set.
Yeah,
the
backstage we were working with a few issues. One with Maso's mic wasn't working too well, and he didn't even realize that, so we had to tell him that he needed to speak up a little more.
He did a good job after that.
Looks so homey with the curtains and everything.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that some time's passed now.
That's what we were going for, at least.
A slight draft helping out, moving the curtains makes
How are you
it
feeling,
look a little more realistic.
3 months
Little
today.
theater
Did the
magic.
baby move? Are you comfortable?
I'm fine. I believe I'm finally over my morning sickness.
Your mother was sick for the first 5 months she carried you, Fred.
No wonder she loves Ben best. Bundle up. It will be cold walking to the doctor's office.
We will. We will bring you the news.
By the way,
He's with his friend Suchi. They're getting the war news.
There's a little bit of a lack in emotion in this scene because they were reading the scripts and looking down a lot, but I still think they
Well,
had
look at it this way, Father. The sooner Japan is defeated,
good
the sooner we'll
enough
be out of
in a
this hole.
sense.
Do you still have mixed feelings, Father?
Remembering the lines was a huge battle that we faced throughout this whole play. Actors didn't have enough time to memorize all their lines. It was very rushed with the time that we were given. So,
When
All those snow days really
all those
affected us,
snow days.
not in any good ways.
But the actors memorized a good part of their lines. They mostly use their scripts just as a little helping hand to refresh their memory on the most lines.
When Ben came into the
And
scene,
here's
the
number two
emotion
son
really
now.
picked up. You could
So
tell.
husband of some
this
of
was the
the
part
people
where he
in the
broke
war.
the news to
Sorry,
Ben
his
read
father
what
and
he
his
means.
brother that he was joining the army.
well,
And
The
it
Russians
really helped
just
with
stopped
the
the Germans at a
emotional
place called
presence of this scene a lot.
Stalingrad, and they're trying to push
I
them
think
down.
Ben helped with the confidence
And
of
then-
the other
in the
actors as well.
Pacific,
Him not using his
we've just
script and being
invaded
so
an
into
island
it
called
made it easier for the other actors.
Tarawa. Yeah, that one. The reports say that it was very bloody, but we just keep island hopping toward Japan.
I really like Masuo's reaction
And,
to when he breaks the news. He just
one
kind of
more
walks away and looks really distraught that his son
Suchi and I have
has
joined the army. And
joined the military,
Before
especially
you say
considering the
anything, Fred,
situation they're in at the time,
listen, it's different
where
for you than for
their
me.
country isn't really,
I'm only American.
Hey,
Japan has no
being
meaning
as
for
kind
me.
to them as they would like
This is
at
my
all
country.
by
This
any
is
means.
where I was born.
But
I grew
Ben
up.
still
I
seems to
became who I am here.
think that he needs to support his country, even
not on
though
my mind
his
anymore.
country isn't supporting him.
And,
That's
I
tough
know they
news to
made a
take as a
mistake with us,
father
but
because
in the
you're
big
so
things, the
fed
things
up
that
with the
count,
country for putting you into
this is
this
a good
internment
country.
camp, and
I'm proud
he
to
knows
be
that his son
Proud?
is
Your so-called
most
country
likely
put you
never
in
going to
this
come
prison
back
just
from this
because
war
of your
because most
ancestors'
Asian
work.
Americans were being
They
put
didn't
on the
see
front
you,
line during
hear
the
about
war.
you. They only
So
saw
that's
Japanese.
a tough thing to see.
We
that
have no
your
country.
son's
That's a lie,
going to war
Fred.
to fight for a country that you're so angry
I
with.
have a country, and
risk
I'm
his
going to
life for
serve
that.
her.
Meanwhile,
I'm a
The
patriot.
thing I like
You
about
don't know
this
the
scene, though,
meaning
is,
of that word.
even though
Well, I
we
know the
have a
opposite
lot
of the word, and
problems
you're
with dark
it.
spots, Masuo is kind of in a dark spot, but
don't
it
care
actually
about
allows
yourself,
the
don't
focus
you?
to be on the argument between
The
Fred
world
and
is
Ben,
fighting a
and
battle
you still have
between good and
Masuo
evil.
in your
And
peripheral vision.
Listen, I know
on
where
the
I
side.
stand, but where do you?
Right, and
was
Masuo's
put
not
into this position.
looking down, reading
I
a
didn't
line in
choose
the
it.
scene. He's
The
just kind of
wonderful
looking
America turned its back
at
on
their
me,
argument
told
and
me I
just
wasn't
watching them
influenced,
and just
that I
kind of
wasn't as good
speechless
as
about the
other
whole thing.
Americans.
Obviously, he's
I would have
probably
been
in
proud to
shock.
stand for those so-called ideals, but those ideals didn't apply to me, did they?
Fred, we're being given a chance
At
to
this point
prove
of the
ourselves
play,
now.
during the dress
Prove that we're
rehearsal,
loyal Americans.
Alexa had army
We're
crawls
only Americans.
under the
We can be
projectors,
patriots
like,
too.
5
Don't you see
times.
that's the height of hypocrisy?
Yeah. Someone
We're
decided
putting you
it
in a
was a
concentration
good
camp,
good idea to put all
but
the
now
props
we're gonna
on
let
one
you die
side.
for us.
That
Well,
was
if you
not
want to die
decided,
for
we
the
needed
people
it
who put
on.
you in this hell,
Lesson learned for the
people
final
who still
show.
don't trust
Oh
you.
yeah,
Be my guest.
super fun.
But let me guess, Ben. They won't send you to the Pacific, will they?
Well, they
Glad
say the
you
Germans are the
stayed up
biggest
too.
threat.
Someone
That's
did
where
a
they
much
need
better
us.
job
Right,
at
the
that.
Germans are the bigger threat, but the Japanese Americans are the one they intern in camps. They still don't trust you, Ben. And what about mother and father? Did you even
I think
give
towards the
opportunity
end of
discussing
Fred's
this with them?
conversation, you kind of tell that Fred with his emotions, is starting to kind of understand why he sees why Ben wants to go fight for his country.
I know, Fred. I know
He still
that.
has a strong argument about why he's
The
disagreeing.
enemy that we
though,
fight
and
on
he's
both
trying
fronts
to-
has to be
It's like he's
defeated
trying to talk him out of it
somehow.
as opposed to really
Listen,
really
I
try
may
to
be
step
young,
back and understand
okay?
his point of
But
view.
I know history too.
because He
I
does
know that
understand the
young men
reality
go
of
to
the
war and
situation.
well, young men die fighting, okay? And I'll just take my chances.
Please, Ben. This isn't your
With
war.
Ben being so
We've fought
passionate,
America
you can
before.
just tell how
They
much
didn't want us
he
to
loves
come.
his country,
They've
and
done
this
everything in their
is
power
what he
to drive
wants to
us
do
away.
for his
Are
country.
you really willing to die for them?
Well, not all of us. They didn't say anything to the Japanese on the
Do we
East
know
Coast,
if we
for
had many
example.
people sitting in the side seats? Or was it
Listen,
more
even you have to admit that some of the
We moved the chairs on the second night of the production
They're
to
still tied to Nippon.
try to help with that.
They still
we
think
we
that
had
the
them
leaders descended from the
originally
gods.
placed on
Listen, if they
all
believe
sides of the
that,
stage,
they'd
but
be
we
capable
moved the
of
chairs
anything.
into that like kind
Can't
of
you understand how
horseshoe
that
shape.
all makes
More
us look?
centered.
Right,
But
to
that's
try
not
to
all of
try to
us,
help
Ben.
with the
The
definitely
government
helps
could have
because
kept
the
an eye
camera
on those
view,
few, but they could have done us all.
you
They
can see
didn't
a
see
lot of
you
people are
or
turning their
me.
back to
They just saw the
camera
Japanese
view
us.
when they're in the
Ben, it's
arguments and stuff.
unforgivable.
I get it, Fred. I get it. You
We had to
played
place
by the
it
rules. You were a
strategically
model
so the light
citizen, and they
fixtures
took
that
it
we
all
had there
away.
didn't get
You
in the
have
way
every
or
right to
anything,
be
but it
bitter.
actually
Listen,
turned
I
out pretty well.
promise. Look at me. I promise that they'll make it up to you.
Will they let you graduate from high school?
They promised.
It's really emotional there because you can see that
Do I have your blessing?
Ben asked his father for kind of like almost like his permission to join the military, and he said that he had his blessing, and Ben had a really good reaction to that.
I'll be proud of you no matter what path you choose. And you have my blessing.
Was the baby still a bag of rice at this point? Or did they
No, I think it was a teddy bear. I believe someone got a teddy bear for this one. It's a little more human-like than a rice bag.
The American sniper prop department never called us back, so we had to start improvising. Couldn't get their fake baby.
I almost feel like this scene looks, this final scene looks a lot brighter than almost all the scenes, and I feel like that
Father,
has some.
I've heard some news.
You're trying to illuminate most of
There's
the
a chance
stage.
we'll be getting out of this place.
We're using all
The
of
war
it.
has been going on so well.
The corners
that now,
are kind of dark
after
spots,
only
and now you're right.
2.5
It does look
years, the white
that they're
politicians have
kneeling.
decided
It looks
to
brighter in the
uncredit.
corner over there instead of standing.
The Germans are falling back close to the
But
Rhine.
you can see that they're
in
having
the
kind of a
Pacific,
side
we're closing
conversation
in on
and
the home
acting like
island.
they're eating
What was your
or
island, Father?
doing something
Honshu.
which was a lot better than before.
But I
So
can
the
probably remember
directors,
now.
backstage must have.
I vaguely remember the gardens with pink flowers. Probably been bombed by now. By the way, have you heard the news from Ben?
I told you, Father. He's either in northern Italy or southern France.
I think this scene was right after
I
we
talked to
told them
Suchi's
to
father, and he says Ben says hello.
start
and says
talking
he is
louder,
fine.
if I recall correctly.
We can
There
only
was a
hope.
bit of an echo though, which was kind of weird.
Fred,
Um,
Yeah,
I
kind
know
of
you try to
went
keep the bad
against
news from me,
small
but
room kind of concept.
I have my sources too. I know there have been many casualties.
Why should I worry you? Besides, Ben is
Thought
best.
Watson worked
He's
out
always
really
been the
well.
lucky one.
Yeah, the
Definitely worked
sides,
out better than we
the
thought.
side stage was set up very well,
If we really
and having the walls up
Shouldn't we start
really helped.
planning
And that
the
front display was kind of like our
Future?
beginning
I
and
think
end
we should
opening
consider
of the
Canada.
screen. Really allowed you to have a concept of the
Canada,
history before
but
you
it's
entered
so
the play.
cold there. It'll be like winter here for 10 months out of the year.
Don't tell me you want to stay here after all that's happened.
Fred, believe me, I understand your sentiment. But this is still the best country for us. If we leave, we'll have nothing.
So it comes down to money. What about our principles?
I think the outfits actually worked out pretty good too.
We have 3 mouths.
For a short notice on costumes,
What are you saying?
and the makeup turned
Are
out
you
really
pregnant
well.
again?
Yes, Fred. I'm going to have a baby. And this is our future.
I'm so happy.
There's always some fun going on backstage.
silent fun because all of the mics are on.
Who is it, my son?
I think this is the most important scene of the whole play. I feel like it is the most emotional scene for the crowd itself and
the government's
for
deepest
Ben's whole
sympathy
family, because
that
this
I
is when
have to inform you
the
that
news is
your
broken
son
to Ben's
Benjamin
family
was
about
killed.
him dying
Action
in line
on
of duty.
October 27th.
Definitely left a
I
lasting
know
impression.
that this will provide no consolation,
The MPs
but
did a good job.
he
for
died as a
last
hero.
notice.
Yeah.
I think they did
I
a
don't
good
know
job
all the
using like a
details,
monotone
but
voice,
this
acting
is
like
what
a
I
real
do know.
military person
Your
would.
son's battalion, the Go for
Especially
Broke
if you know a couple
battalion,
days in advance
was
that they're going to have to
called
play the
upon
part.
Oh yeah, they're both
rescue
intently
a unit
studying
that
their
was
scripts
surrendered by the
throughout
German
entire
for
Yeah,
6
backstage
days
they were
in
very
the
into it.
Fasage
Yeah.
Mountains in
They
southern
wanted to do a
France.
good job, make the play
These
look good.
troops had no food, no water for at least 3 days. They were a National Guard outfit from Texas. Command called them the Lost Battalion.
Mary had a lot of emotion here
His
too.
unit
She actually
went
looked
into
as
and
if she
fought
was
like hell.
crying or
The Germans put up a
pretty
resistance.
sad.
Everyone looked
Ben's
very upset. Nobody would even look at
battalion
the
broke through
at the MPs
and
when they were
saved
talking
over
to them because they were
200
so
men.
upset.
I am sorry
How do you
to
how would you
report
look
that
at the military
Go
police
for
coming to
Broke
say that your son
battalion
died for
suffered
fighting their
over
country? Meanwhile, they're
800
keeping you in this prison
casualties.
or
They
internment
were
camp.
all heroes, Mr. and Mrs. Takagi.
It's
True
definitely not a
heroes.
lot different.
Here, have your son's effects.
I think we could have done a little better with that prop, but
Mr.
for short notice,
Mrs.
it didn't
Takagi,
work out.
Ben will be awarded a Silver Star posthumously. We would like to hold our ceremonies here at Amachi with your permission. Mr. Mrs. Takagi, I know that your time here has been difficult. But I want
Planning
to
out this
personally
scene was a
state
little
that
different
you
than
have
what
the
we
respect
imagined from
and
the play. We
gratitude
kind of
of a
changed it a
nation
little
that I know
because we
will
wanted to
come
add our
to
own taste to it to make it a little
It's
different than the
of a
play
great
because we
and
viewed
noble
it happening in a
people
different way.
who,
So
despite their
we
circumstances,
changed a few things.
sent their son to defend this country.
If there is anything I can do. For the record, Mr. and Mrs. Takagi, Ben will be buried in an American cemetery in France. The French have agreed that an American cemetery in France is thus as an American soil. Mr. and Mrs. Takagi, Ben is buried on an American soil.
Do they both have a script?
We
or
will
do they have
leave
one script to
you know.
share?
We will
they both
leave
have
you know, but we will be in touch.
Maybe it might have
I
been
know
better
it
if they
may
only
not
one.
mean much now,
Not sure.
but a grateful country says thank you.
I think as far as their comfort level, it was good that they
Oh.
both had one.
Right
Yeah,
now
I just
in
feel
Texas,
like one
there are
MP is trying
over
to read his lines
200
while the other one
families
is
with
reading
their
his
leaves,
lines.
thanking God for the Japanese Americans unit. I don't know of other one who could have saved their sons. Please forgive us.
At the end here, I
Just
wish there was more movement. Like, I wish he kind of like ran over to the bed or something and like
It was a little
cried.
awkward that time because the set went down in the back before the lights went down.
I think the family. I think we should add it to that last
I
scene. Is
love
that the
and
family
respect you, in spite of the
came more
mistakes you have
together
made.
during it, while
Yes, you have made
the
mistakes.
military police were
All
breaking
I
the news
ask
to them
is that
because
you
they were
don't make
just
the same
kind of
mistake
sitting
twice.
there awkwardly.
Just show
That
more
would be
emotion towards each other.
inexcusable, even in the eyes of one who loved you so.
I think this was a very good part of the scene that we
I
added
hope your
with
faith in me
Ben
and in your people has
behind
grown
the
since the last
curtains,
time I saw you.
like, reading his letter that he
Now,
wrote.
from where I watch, I
I
see
still kind
signs
of
of
wish the
hope.
window was gone here.
My
because
mother and
It's
father
almost like he's
are still together.
encased, like he's
I
supposed to be
see
kind of free
hopes
now.
of
You
life
know, like he
Yeah.
was,
in my
he was
sister-in-law
in this
and the new life
camp,
she
and he was
carries.
in the army, and he was serving
And in
for
the
his
eyes of
country,
my brother,
and now he's free.
I see
like,
the light of
completely
life
free. I
shining
feel like if
for
the
the
window
first
was
time
gone, it would show
in
that.
all those years.
Plus, you can still see his legs.
And I know
over the window,
that my
which
faith in
kinda
you
ruins the
has
whole
not been in
illusion
vain.
you're going for.
Yeah, right. And our author, Michael Carter, put a lot of emphasis on the fact that Masuo
Mary?
just walked
How'd you
over to
feel
the
about
window
featuring
with
Texas?
the star that they got and put it in the window.
Yeah. Overall, though, I think for such a short notice of booking the production and setting the production up with the the actors and what we had, it went pretty well.
They came together very well.
Yeah, the play really pulled through here.